So it's 6:01. We're good for a quorum, so I think we should get started. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome to the December 15th, 2020 meeting of the Community Relations Committee. We would like to thank Easthampton Media for recording tonight's meeting. All past meetings of the CRC can be found on their website for viewing at any time in the future. For the benefit of those of you who are joining us from the community, we would like to start this meeting by sharing our committee's mission statement. Our mission is to promote positive relations throughout Easthampton's diverse population. We will work to build a sense of inclusion, community, and pride, where community members feel welcome, accepted, and valued. And we'll begin this meeting with a roll call. Rebecca Passa.
Here.
Patty Dougherty.
Here.
Emily Britton.
Here.
Margaret Kirstein. Mary Lou Splain.
Here.
Alyssa O'Leary. Alyssa told us she might be late tonight. Jan Norman. Myra Oriademi.
Here.
Gabby Stevenson.
Here.
Deborah Lucnia. Here. Okay. First on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the November 17th, 2020 meeting, which Rebecca so graciously put together and distributed to us as a reminder just recently. Has everyone had a chance to look at those minutes? Okay, so do we have a motion to approve or any suggestions, comments for change at all, or do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I was gonna say, okay, Patty seconds that. All right, there's a motion to approve. It's been seconded. All those in favor, I'll go through the roll call list. Rebecca Passa.
Yes, approve.
Patty Dougherty.
Yes.
Emily Brighton.
Yes.
Okay, Mary Lou Splain.
Yes.
Jan, okay, Myra Oyedemi.
Yes.
Gabby Stevenson.
Yes.
Deborah Lucnia, yes. Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, announcements. I don't have any announcements for today. I don't know, does anybody else have any announcements for today? Okay, we will then move on to public speak. At this time, any member of the public is welcome to speak to the committee. If you'd like to speak, we ask that you use the raise your hand feature by selecting the participants option at the bottom of your screen. Then click raise hand at the bottom of the participants window. If you're dialing in by phone only, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. Please remain on mute until you're called, and at which point you can unmute yourself. When it's your turn to speak, we'll ask you to state your name and your address before addressing the committee. I'd also like to remind everyone that the members of the committee cannot respond to comments made during public speak. We ask that you remain respectful and direct your comments only to the committee members. There'll be a 3-minute time limit for those who wish to speak. Would anyone like to address the committee? Okay, I'll take that as a no. All right, well, thank you all for being here, for those of you who are joining us. And we will then move on to the other sections of our agenda. Next on the agenda, we have Mayor Nicole LaChapelle with us, and we thank you for being here. Mayor, she is here this evening to share an independent legal review that was conducted as a result of a citizens complaints alleging a code of ethics violation by 2 police officers on August 1st in the year 2020. And so she has an independent legal review that's been done that she would like to share with us. So I'll turn it over to you, Mayor LaChapelle.
Good evening, everyone. I am hitting send right now of this one-page legal review, this memo I've written to the committee. Deb and Patty, I don't have, my CRC mailing list doesn't seem to be updated, so if you could share it with the committee, that would be appreciated. So that said, look at my a little discombobulated. So that said, I'd like to go over it. I know that you've just gotten it. It's not a long document, but I'm sure it may prompt questions or whatnot. And I am happy to return to the committee to address concerns and point by point discussion of this letter and the report. I can also make available with some scheduling the attorney who did the review. I was hoping to get him here tonight and it just didn't work out. I apologize for the delay. That is almost entirely due to my scheduling. And I want to make clear that that has nothing to do with the subject matter of it. So the short of it is that under the code of conduct and how MGL looks at these types of policies and conduct, there was nothing specific to a code of conduct violation. There was Attorney Clifford did have some grave concerns about appearance and concerns around what public employees, like the responsibility of who and where they are seen. And that certainly can be extremely not conducive to public trust in their public servants. We've also, I put in italics the exact words of Attorney Clifford around it. He also, I'd like to mention too, that even before around releasing the report, he had suggested strongly to the chief and I to release the report publicly before asked. So I know that's a grave concern of folks. The other thing that came up, and I think it also came up a little bit in the work group, and I talked to the attorney about it, that there's really the place within our municipal government to have these conversations and not the only conversation, because there's a lot of really not only meaningful but well-intentioned and necessary activism and organizing outside of city government is this committee. And the committee is, evolving from a very nascent point, and that, hopefully there will be structures or recommendations out of this committee about how to have those conversations, or where it's on a formal official city record. Like these meetings are, but I will, I'll take questions. I know this is kind of like a drop the letter and run. So I'm again, also, willing to come back next week, and then I'll be quiet. Your next meeting would be in January?
That's what we're thinking at this point. We'll discuss it at the end of the meeting to confirm that, but typically we're going with the first Tuesday of the month. So we'd be looking at January
5th?
5th. But
Yeah, so I don't have school committee. So if you'd like me to come back, and this is enough time to get, Attorney Clifford to zoom in. So I'll be quiet now.
Mayor LaChapelle, is the letter something that you could read aloud? Is it lengthy, or is it something that you could read aloud to us this evening?
Yeah, I can read it verbatim. Yep.
Okay.
Excuse me, I just forwarded it. I hate saying forwarded it to everyone. So I hope I don't know if you guys got it. It looks like it's sent. So,
I mean, I'm happy to read it into the record, whatever makes sense. for the committee.
Sure.
Okay. To the Community Relations Committee, copy to Chief Alberti, Detective Andrew Bouet in his capacity as the president of the local police union, and Attorney John Clifford. From me, the date of the original of me starting to do this was back in October 23rd. And I did just update it quickly with formatting today. And it's the Internal Affairs Independent Review. Attorney John Clifford of Clifford and Kenny LLC reviewed the Internal Affairs Report, IA, dated September 28th, 2020, and its findings by me. Attorney Clifford frequently represents the city in labor negotiations and personnel-related matters. He did not advise, assist, or participate in the IA in any manner. I agree with Attorney Clifford's conclusion and guidance on conduct and transparency. The complaints received in my release of the report gravely underscore the distrust and fear that some community members, especially those identifying as BIPOC, hold towards policing. These conversations about policing, bias, and hate in Easthampton have at best a nascent space in our government in this committee. The ongoing evolution of this committee is imperative to building a more trusting culture in the city. Attorney Clifford's review follows the complaint alleged that Easthampton Police Department officers had engaged in conduct that violated the Easthampton Police Department Code of Conduct during a march by a kind on August 1, 2020. These complaints were reported by local media sources and were the subject of significant interest on local social media sites. The investigation involved reviews of several witnesses and a detailed review of available video recordings, including video from surveillance cameras on area buildings. The investigation documented disturbing behavior by some individuals. Still, no member of the Easthampton Police Department was shown to have committed the acts alleged in media or social media accounts. None of the officers accused was proven to have engaged in behavior that violates the Easthampton Police Department Code of Conduct or any other applicable policy. Following a fair and thorough investigation, the accused officers were adequately exonerated. That said, I, Attorney Clifford, remind all police officers and all city employees that municipal employees can be judged by the persons we associate with, and that those associations can reflect poorly on the city. The IA report is a public record. I, Attorney Clifford, suggest you and the chief consider releasing the report without being asked in the interest of transparency. And then the last two paragraphs, I forgot to delete when I was figuring out the language today. So it just, it goes to that.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions at this point that they would like to ask the mayor? Excuse me.
I just have one, Mayor. If you're going to release the report, where can people find it? Just
Well, I released it to this committee.
right, but is it going to be a matter of someplace that the public in general? I mean, I've read it because it was sent as part of the process, but I'm just wondering if make it public, what that actually means and where somebody can find it.
I would, no, that's a great point. I would, it certainly could be posted somewhere on the police. I'm just thinking, I mean, I'm just thinking about a place that's somewhat easy to actually find it. Probably my mayor page with this document, as well as the IA, along where the mayor's pledge stuff is for. the website, we're about to actually switch the whole website and rebuild it. So we could put it on the front page. I can figure it. I'll put it on the website and at least put it on the landing page of the website. I just feel like it's going to get buried, but yeah.
We could also put it on, we're in the process of having a link to a documents link for our committee.
Yep.
So I was thinking that we'd put it there as well, put it in our file.
Why don't we, I can post it a couple of places, but sure, on the CRC, and that whole page will migrate over to the new website platform.
Great. Any other questions for the mayor? Okay. Well, thank you very much for being here and for sharing that with us.
And I just have one other item I'd like to share. So I am just starting to put the budget together for fiscal year 2022. And I know that there are requests from this committee for funding for, the next fiscal year. I'm waiting to look at the money and specifically the cannabis impact money to see if the committee can be funded more quickly in this fiscal year. So
nice. Awesome.
I meant to email you guys. And so, so we'll, I think the initial request was $1,000 with my commitment of at least $5,000 more for, what comes when and how that happens. So I will get back to you with an amount, and I need to figure out how to describe the budget, whether, that's just details. My apologies. I'm really tired. So.
Okay. Well, thank you. Appreciate
I
that.
imagine so. I do have a question or other comment. And I guess this is where different things intersect. So Some of my comments are personal. I don't think they belong necessarily in the CRC. And I think we've already had conversations about concerns about that. So I guess I'll just loop back around you because it really doesn't have to do with this.
Okay. So like an offline conversation?
No, I'll have a conversation with you.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if that you were starting it now. Okay.
No, I'm not.
Yep. Understood. Sorry.
Okay. Anyone else? Questions for the mayor? Comments? Okay. While you're here, I'll just tell you real quickly, Mayor LaChapelle, that I'm hopping a little bit ahead on the agenda, but not to go there completely, but just wanted to tell you that Patty and I have reached out to Meg and Derek from the Department of Justice.
Okay, great.
On some things.
Yep.
And I just wanted to say that we're going to talk about that in the meeting coming up, but that we're pretty excited about them as resources going forward.
Great.
And just wanted to thank you for that connection. Thank you for that recommendation.
That's wonderful. And they asked to be also connected to the mayor's work group, which I think is coming back around. So just to understand that work and see, overlap or next steps, as well as, possible grants for the work here, or, there's some interesting grants that would have community RFPs, kind of like what we have done with money with ECA. And so ECA gets the grant, but it's to be dispersed into the community for projects.
Cool.
So,
nice.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Okay. Sounds good.
Great. I'm going to excuse myself. I have to go to the planning meeting as well.
Okay.
But thank you all for the opportunity. And Myra, I will send you a quick email to figure out a date, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. So moving to the next topic on our agenda, our Community Relations Committee process for incident reports. So where we left off is Patty was going to reach out to the experts that Nicole had mentioned along the way that could be helpful to us. And so rather than me ramble on about that, I'm going to turn the floor over to Patty.
We met with Meg Gurecki and a gentleman named Derek, and I'm sorry, I can't remember his last name, who is our, Meg is like a higher up in the Department of Justice Community Relations Service. And Derek is our Massachusetts contact. So we'll probably be working with him a little bit more. But Deb, I think I speak for both of us. We were like floored by how much help they can give us and support they can give us, and sort of kicking ourselves a little bit that somehow we didn't know that this resource was so, you know, I would say, the first thing I said to Deb was, I wish somebody had said to us as when we came in as chairs, like, you have to talk to these people. It was a great conversation. We started with they had a lot of questions for us about our committee, about where we are, about where we've been. And we're going to be meeting again with them in January. So with that said, I think we're not going to be able to move forward on finalizing the responsibilities for our committee in regards to incident reports, because they're reviewing all our work right now. So they have our founding ordinance. They have all the background information on us, and then we're going to meet in January and hopefully be able to start coming up with some really great language for a process. Really understanding the process, though, and with information about what other communities do in regards to our responsibilities around the incident reporting, but also around a whole sort of numerous things that we could be addressing as a committee. So we're pretty excited about it. And I think that's basically where we're at right now. So I guess what I would say, the one thing I would say is, if in thinking about things for our committee, in thinking about our responsibilities regarding incident reporting, but also anything that we've had discussions about, if you all have questions or thoughts that you want us to bring to these folks, you can email them to me or Deb, and just say, hey, this might be something we want to think about.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a tremendous resource for us. We're really excited about that. And they're also linking us into some other educational opportunities and other people to talk to. And so we're looking forward to kind of jumping in after this holiday season, like jumping in full force and learning as much as we can, and bringing you all the information and educating us as a committee.
And I think at some point we will have at least Derek join us at our meeting as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm just guessing that they'd be willing to get, close to what we're doing and help us out all along the way. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Emily.
Yeah, I wanted to know, so will they let us know about options of different processes, like these certain incident review, processes could go this direction, or you could go this direction, or this community, in some other state does it this way. Like, are they going to let us know the different options?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what they're doing now is they're trying to identify, by looking at our ordinance and our founding documentation, like what they're kind of taking a look and saying, okay, what does all this mean, and how does that help define the role of this committee in this community?
Mm-hmm.
And then they would, thinking about other communities that are, structured similarly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And did they indicate that there are many types of review boards? I understand that some of the other like neighboring towns are actually starting like at least police review boards, but did they say that there's like many others like us?
Yes, but that's the point, is that they're not all structured the same.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
The idea would be, so that's why they're reviewing what the intention
Mm-hmm.
was for our community to start this committee,
Mm-hmm.
and help guide us that way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But like Meg is responsible for CRCs in like 8 states or 7 or 8 states. So she's a resource for all of those states, whereas Derek is specifically focused on Massachusetts. But they're called many different things throughout different communities, whether it's human relations committees or community relations committees or commissions. But basically he's like a contact person and resource for all of us. So it's pretty awesome.
When you say Meg is responsible, do you mean she just mentors them?
I kind of have that feeling. I'm sure that that's a huge part of what she does. I'm not sure what all else she does. Do you, Patty, do you have a sense for that?
Yeah, I mean, I got the sense that she was, in the regional the regional director overseeing these states, and then she works with the individual state representatives. And that was my sense of her. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
She's a lawyer.
I don't know if she's a lawyer. It's the Department of Justice Community Relations Service.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And that's where all these CRCs, that it's part of, it's the part of the Department of Justice that provides community relations service.
Mm-hmm.
And so they look at a variety of things happening across the country and ways that communities are dealing with them. And so it's like anything else, where there's local level, there's state level, there's federal level.
So right now they're in review of kind of where this committee is and its work and its paperwork and processes. And it sounds like there'll be a time where they'll be able to present to all of us, or their findings, or you're compiling their suggestions.
Yeah. So the idea is that they're going to be able to provide some guidance and suggestions, provide us information about what other similar committees or commissions are doing. If there are processes and forms or templates that are, successfully used, they would share those with us, and then we can look at them and tweak them for ourselves, or we can throw them out, whatever. And so it's not like they're going to come in and be like, you should do this, and we have to do that. It's again, it's a great resource for us to give us some support as we're trying to figure out how to build the best committee.
So, and Derek has asked, he already threw out asking to meet with us. Patty and I have a phone conversation early in January, and he was looking to set that up to give us some feedback at that point. So we'll learn a whole lot more, I'm sure. But it was kind of interesting because, Patty and I had no idea about this whole organization. And we had a bunch of questions, and like, they just bombarded us with a million questions. And so it was more like, oh, wow, okay. Like, we didn't even get to ask our questions because they were like taking a step back and wanting to know us and wanting to know, like, I mean, we did in a general sense, but they wanted to kind of digest all about us before getting back to us with any specific detailed questions. So anyway, it was good. It's a good conversation. But I think that they'll be very responsive, I'm sure. I have that feeling, very responsive and attentive to us and our needs with advice and guidance.
Thanks, Deb and Patty, for pursuing that. I think it's a step in a good direction.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited about it. Yeah, I had no idea that broad a network even existed. It's kind of exciting. Okay, anything else on that topic? All right. Okay, moving on. Our forum subcommittee update. So Myra, Emily, and Jan sent us an outline in advance of this meeting of their thoughts at this point with regard to a plan for a forum. And I hope everyone had an opportunity to look at that before this meeting. Great. And so before we get into any sort of discussion, Myra or Emily, do you want to share any introductory comments?
I want to thank Myra for putting it together and making it look so nice and sending it out while I had ridiculous computer trouble and still do, but thanks, Myra. Yeah, so.
Did the three of you work together on it? Did the three of you work together, or was it mostly the two of you? Oh, you're muted, Emily.
Yeah, Myra and I contributed. I didn't hear from Jan, but yeah, the two of us. Yeah.
Okay. So any comments, thoughts, suggestions, ideas? Mary Lou?
Yeah, I know the spirit report refers to the old guard, and I would respectfully request that in our proposal, we don't refer to it that way. I think we can come up with something that isn't quite, that maybe refers more to generational residents or long-term residents. The first paragraph of the overview, I got the feeling that it was only the old guard who had trouble communicating. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we want, if we're looking to be inclusive, I think we need to come up with some language that doesn't alienate long-term residents or newcomers. Mm-hmm. I think all of us can learn how to communicate better with others, and I think that should be the focus, as opposed to pitting people against each other because they happen to be the third generation here, mm-hmm. As opposed to somebody who's moved in fairly recently. So that's just kind of my opinion of, or what kind of jumped out at me in just the way it was presented, particularly that first paragraph. Later on it was, it included people new to the community, but I just think that although it was referred, and we should still refer to whatever it says in the spirit report, I think we need to spin it a different way. Mm-hmm. We're trying to be inclusive to the entire community. Mm-hmm. That includes people who have a history here and who contributed to Easthampton as to what it is now, good or bad. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to respect that. Mm-hmm. As a newcomer coming in, we just can't upend everything. And I think some respect to the older more established, be they older residents or younger residents who've grown up here, families who've been here. I think we need to be careful of how we term things to make it inclusive.
I was also concerned about that, and that it seemed like we were maybe labeling people in that same introductory component to it, and that we were making assumptions and generalizations about a block of people that we probably shouldn't be doing. And it felt as though it was coming from a little bit of a biased perspective, that we were targeting a specific group with the goal of changing their mindset. And so anyway, I think, yeah, we have to be careful about that. I think we need to be really careful about that. I also wondered, we started out with the goal of having a forum to help people communicate effectively across differences. And I felt as though maybe it sounded like that goal was not as specific. It was more, it was becoming more general, a more general approach, or a more, I wasn't sure. It didn't seem to me like it was as clear that that's still the goal of the forum specifically. So I had questions about that, wanting to talk about that. I really liked the learning objectives and the event outcomes that were listed. I was also only thinking in number 2 there about talking about attendees developing enhanced or improved communication skills rather than just communication skills. And to specifically state that if that is our goal, to help people learn to communicate across differences, like specifically state that in the event outcomes and learning objectives. So kind of back to that question, is this still our number 1 goal? Clarifying that. So any other comments or suggestions? Or?
No, I would just echo the Mary Lou and Deb's take on the first paragraph. It did feel a little, I think the language was too strong, and I would agree taking out the old guard, and that Deb's take that, we're generalizing a group of people isn't what we as the Community Relations Committee want to do. It's what we're trying to undo a little bit. So I would agree with both their perspectives on that. Otherwise, sorry. I will say that again, that it looked great, and the learning objectives, I think, are what we want to, I think we maybe just want to clarify them a little bit. And I did think it was great to go back and look at the Spirit report in terms of I thought that was a great idea to do, to look at, what did we say we needed here? I don't know that we can cover everything in one forum that those 4 groups came up with. So we may want to figure out how to parse that out.
I guess that's what I was concerned about. Like, is it too all encompassing, even as a document for the foundation for the specific goal for this specific forum?
So how I write up historically have written up event proposals is that you identify an overview and give a purpose, outcomes, objectives, and the reference that are used are the ones, and the names that are used are the ones that are named in the Spirit report. They were listed as old guard, so I didn't feel it my place to change the name of the title that's listed in that report. And this is just a slight tweak of the previous report that just delineates out timelines and the objectives. So it was essentially the same event. just with as Emily put in last time, the different, the review of the Spirit report, what the group's findings are. So it's not a way that we're attempting to adjust, to address all of those issues. It's just giving the historical context. So why is this event relative? The issue was that this mentality was identified as a hindrance. These are what the groups said were their concerns. And then, oh, sorry, I have two different mice. Yeah, two different mice and two different computers. And then some of the problems that are identified. So it's not that we're going to touch upon all of them. It's just outlining why this event is occurring. And obviously all of these things predated this work. And so it really starts with a purpose. That's where our writing comes in. Mike. So, and I'm not sure does it feel too lofty? The purpose of this online event is to foster communication skills. So you'd rather see enhanced communication skills with a focus on developing both respectful listening and respectful expression within the community of Easthampton across the old guard, in parentheses, newcomers and historically marginalized. So it's seen as an initial foundation to engage in future difficult conversations. So I just see this as a cursory event that sets the stage for more difficult conversations. Now, I think really, if we're able to achieve, will also depend on who we'll be able to have as speakers. But it's just kind of clarifying the mission that was expressed before.
Mary Lou?
I think you have to quote the Spirit report as it's written, which you've done, but I think my point is in the purpose is the purpose, which is my understanding is coming from the CRC. I have a problem with the term old guard, and I think it's off-putting in the purpose to segment the community. If we're trying to have dialogue and we're trying to get people to communicate, putting them in boxes before it even starts is, to me, not a good way to start. People
Right.
are going to, it goes back to the calling in, calling out, it's not very welcoming. If I as a resident who'd lived here, was born here, raised here, and saw old guard and thought they were referring to me, I wouldn't be very happy about that. I mean, you're making assumptions that anybody who's lived here a long time is not, has stayed back in 1950 and hasn't developed as a human being with what has happened. And so I just think, even just putting the community of Easthampton, period, and not calling out all the different, whether you came here 2 years ago or 10 years ago, or, your grandmother, farmed the land. I just don't think that's what should be presented by the CRC as if we're trying to be welcoming to everyone.
We can use the Spirit report to inform our thoughts, our action plans, our decisions, our whatever. But yeah, I don't think we'd want to be taking on any of that kind of language or labeling of people or assumptions or generalizations about people going forward.
Yeah. So I think the purpose, I think I think,
Wait, Patty, I saw Gabriella's hand up a while ago.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, thanks, Emily. I just wanted to thank both you and Myra for putting together this PowerPoint. I was going to mention something earlier, but I think Myra's explanation, that's how I interpreted this PowerPoint, as kind of like a global understanding of where we think this event is going, providing some historical context. I don't really have an issue with the term old guard, and I'm just wondering, what would be an alternative term, or how would you like it to be framed? I guess that's what I'm confused about.
My question is, why do we have to frame it? Why can't it just be Easthampton residents being able to communicate with difficult conversations? Why do we need to peg somebody?
I don't think it's so much about pegging anyone, but I mean, I think part of the reason that having historical context is helpful is that there's an understanding that, yes, we're all Easthampton residents, but we belong to different facets of Easthampton and we interact with Easthampton differently. And I think that's kind of what this historical context provides. So, and I think it'd be ill-advised to go into an event without a framework.
I'm not suggesting that the historical context is the spirit report. As far, in my opinion, the historical context is the spirit report, and it specifies Old Guard, and it talks about newcomers. I just don't think we as a committee should continue to use those phrases if we are trying to make a more inclusive community. That is my point.
I understand that, but also if you ignore differences and and why we have to have these conversations, I think that does us a disservice as well.
Myra?
I hear you, Mary Lou, to some degree. You're thinking people will feel prejudged or something, and terminology they may not like being called old, but and this document is not, I'm not taking credit for this document. I believe many people worked on this document before I stuck your beautiful logo on there. So, and calling Old Guard, that referent was speaking about a specific group. And this event, what I perceived, what you all were suggesting beforehand, was addressing the siloed communities that existed in Easthampton, that they identified plans and solutions. We're talking about how do we come across, how do these silos interact when people are, again, in siloed communities, or specific, groups are not interacting with each other. Or I think one of the said that people didn't think there were enough opportunities for these different groups, I'm just paraphrasing, to interact. So I think that the purpose is that we have different types of groups having an opportunity and a platform to communicate. It's not meant to segregate groups, but rather identify who are people in different groups that need an opportunity to interact with one another. Because when we know events, I can say, let me speak for the I know when there's events, a particular type of group will want to show up. Say, as we're often speaking to individuals who will agree with us or have a similar thought pattern, where we're specifically saying we would like all groups, whether it be were identified by, I think it was the municipal group that coined the term Old Guard, whether you're an Old Guard person, whether you're a newcomer, whether you're this, that, or the other, we seek to have intersectional beginning of an intersectional dialogue. So I'm sitting here defending actually your idea.
So can I jump in here? So why can't we use the term that is also in the Spirit report. That's something, I'm trying to find it right here. So the one that refers to, generational, families. Why, like, I don't know why we have to be, I think it is a label, and I think that's the problem. And I think we can very easily fix it by saying something else and not using a label which with capital letters, which is really labeling somebody. And the other thing I don't want to get away from, in the overview, we'll seek to address concerns and solutions related to interactions and protectionist mindset of the old guard. That is calling people out. And I have to say that strongly. That sentence cannot be in here. I'm going to say that right now. That's not what the overview of what we want to do is. What we want to do is facilitate positive communication among those different groups, and we don't need to name them all, in our diverse community. That's what the purpose was supposed to be, not to change one group's mindset, regardless of whether we agree or not. And honestly, if you are somebody, and I'm going to end there. I think that's, yeah.
So,
yeah.
I was going to say, I was not on a committee like this when the Spirit report was, researched and written. But I guess I understand that there are differences between the people who have lived here before, and some hate crimes have been committed against some of the newer residents. And so, I don't know a whole lot about the history of the word protectionist. I don't know a lot about that word, but I'm sure Myra and I can write it differently, but I guess protectionist does sound like the old guard is wanting to guard their territory. And yeah, it could be inflammatory to include it like that. But I don't know a lot about how the Spirit report even came up with the word old guard. I don't know. Does anyone know?
Well, it's a phrase that's been
I do.
used for years.
I was part of that. Oh, sorry. I was part of the Spirit Committee, and it was actually came up by Easthampton residents.
It's been around for a long time.
Yeah, that's
It's
how
not
they
a new
labeled
thing.
themselves and those groups. So,
But that doesn't mean we need to perpetuate it.
Right. I don't think we need to perpetuate that. I don't think that that's a good idea. There's any value to perpetuate that. In fact, I'm uncomfortable with grouping people and making assumptions about their perspectives or their opinions or I'm so uncomfortable with all of that. Like, yeah, we want to have a diverse group of people, and we want to bridge differences, and we want to teach people to be able to communicate with people who feel differently or think differently. But I really get uncomfortable with the idea of making assumptions about people's perspectives, even based on how long they've lived here, and all of that is really uncomfortable. Or any categorizing people in any kind of broad group type of way and making assumptions about their feelings or perspectives is uncomfortable. I don't think we need to do that. I think we can accomplish our objectives as a community and focus on uniting us without any labels. I get that's.
Perhaps you'll have more to say about it, Emily, because the wording, it's like I said, it's not for me in terms of like the referent, and I'm saying like I didn't coin the term old guard. I didn't coin the term newcomer. So I'm just thinking, if we're uncomfortable with it, maybe that's a good thing, because we're becoming in touch with what the report said. I am not saying that all people who, I don't think the word, I'm not sure because I didn't coined it and I wasn't there, but an old guard, it doesn't mean that multi-generational families all have the same thought process. It was just referring to a group of people saying that there's been differences between us versus them, new guard versus old guard. So giving the historical context, I'm not sure, I'm not offended by hearing the history and knowing that these differences are there, because I just feel like if you're ignoring the findings from the DOJ in that report, then we're not really doing our due diligence by saying, well, that doesn't exist.
No, I don't think we should ignore it at all. And it has historically been language that's been used in this community. Absolutely, 100%. And I think we all understand in concept what those references are referring to. But I get uncomfortable if coming from this committee, going forward with our mission and objectives, using labels on groups of people that all sorts of different perceptions can exist as to what those labels mean. And I think I'm not saying I don't think we need to ignore any of that. Absolutely not. Is it real? Absolutely. But I think as a committee going forward, our job is to take a much different approach and to really work to unify and to bridge differences and to bring people together. And I don't think using labels for people or making assumptions about labels or perspectives is the way to go in taking this information and using it for positive change.
And I just do want to say that this line where it says, this line in the overview does say the protectionist mindset of the old guard, which I read as saying anybody who, if we're identifying the old guard as people who have lived here a long time, then you are assigning one mindset to all of them.
Right.
And not you. I'm sorry. I don't mean to say you. I mean, right. That's how it's reading. So I think, I don't think we're that far apart on this. I think we just need to, I think that Deb is nailing it when she talks about not labeling. And I think that with a little bit of work, we could just take some labels out. And I don't think that disrupts the history or the information we got from City Spirit. But again, we are, in our role, this is our opportunity to lead and not to follow.
Mm-hmm. Create anew.
Right. Okay. My comments are not going to be implying that Myra and I won't, wordsmith this and fix this, but this is just a proposal, and this proposal was not going to be published in the Gazette. Like, this was for you, the committee. And I think we can make historical context much bigger, and the Spirit Report did say that a problem is the us versus them, the new guard versus old guard, unconscious bias, resistance to change. Like we can't ignore history here if the Spirit Report is our history and the actual issues thereof. So anyway, this proposal, this might have just gone to the mayor when it was finally done to get approval for the monies to go forward. And then in terms of what the public would see, I think they would see things like the purpose, and the objectives, and the event outcomes. Would you agree with that, Myra, that this proposal was not meant to be, publicized for everybody?
No, well, it could be, though. Just know that this is a public meeting and public discussion, and
right.
and a reporter could ask to see a copy of it and print it in the newspaper. That could happen.
Well, this is the work of a subgroup. right? So this was something where you requested that we, 3 people, define what the event will be and further clarify it. So we sought to clarify what you had proposed prior to make it a little bit more manageable and dissectable and give ourselves some clear timelines. And I think we tried to do that.
I think you did. I think you did. I think there's just, I think there was, we're really talking about a couple lines. The rest, I mean, is in sort of an overarching, I mean, this has opened up a different discussion for us. But I think that there, I guess, my again, the overview was the thing that set off
Okay.
something for me, because it was really saying we want to change this. What I really thought we were doing is we are doing what the purpose says, which is, trying to work to get people to talk across differences. So I'm not sure why that's not more prominent in the overview. And I don't think changing somebody's mindset is necessarily what we want to do. And, I've already said it. And again, it's public record. So yeah, it could be clear. I think it could be, I think it could be really easily adjusted.
Yeah. I don't think we said anything about changing mindset, but anyway. So I have a question. Would you guys be willing to review the bullet points that is written right above purpose, the relevant issues and areas of concerns, and identify which ones you think we should be, because we have to have some, audience goal, figured out in order to be sure that we invite the people who would benefit from this. And as you can see, there's many different areas. So obviously not the second one, I can see that.
So, okay, could you repeat your comment again? I just was working to get that up in front of me, your document, so I have it in front of me.
So it's been 2 years since the Spirit Report came out, right?
Right.
2.5? Yeah. So what do other people here believe are the relevant issues in Easthampton right now?
Well, I guess that's the question. Are we focusing, is the issue to focus on improving communication skills and helping people learn how to communicate across differences? Is that what we're addressing? I mean, I guess that's what I thought was our original goal. That's what we had, the path we had gone down prior to all of this was to have a session that focused on that. And regardless of what the differences are or the issues are, like, it was about communication and improving the ability for people to communicate with one another who believed differently, see things differently, have strongly different views or opinions. That was what we had originally set out to do. So I feel like this has become much bigger, like this particular, like for instance, like I really like your learning objectives and event outcomes, as I mentioned. I just, like number 2, it made me think like, we'd be enhancing communication skills or we'd be improving them. I don't want to imply that people don't have any currently, but I guess I feel like a lot of the rest of it, it feels like we're really getting into a lot of different topics and issues, and it feels like it's not focused on what the original intent was, I guess, is what I'm wondering about. Like, and even for example, like when you list relevant identified issues and areas of concern, like I looked at the last 4 and I thought like, well, this is good to have all this identified and listed. I like it. But like, I see all this stuff as like, we could have a whole bunch of stuff happen on each one of these bulleted items.
So that's why I'm asking people to identify a few right now and not leave it up to me and Myra.
Gotcha.
Identify a few what, though? I guess I'm not understanding.
The learning, are we talking about the learning objectives or the relevant
Relevant issues and areas of concern. I don't know. I mean, I guess and it's sort of like a chicken and an egg thing. It's like a chicken and an egg thing. Or I feel like, like how are we going to, know who to invite if we don't identify a few areas of concern? Like, who's going to come improve your communication skills? Who's going to come to a vague, come get better at communicating if we don't understand some of the groups that should be coming? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, Emily.
Especially because the Spirit report was so clearly identifying the areas of concern. So we're taking the Spirit report, we're saying, okay, these are all the areas of concern. That's the historical context. But now the CRC is going to offer this vague training on how to communicate across differences, and anyone can come. I mean, yeah, anyone can come, but that's going to be self-selective. The people who are going to show up.
No, I think it's an excellent question, Emily. I think it's an excellent question, one we should really talk through and discuss. I think it's a really good point. Even no matter what, it's really a good question and a good point. Are we going to individually invite specific people, or are we going to put out blanket invitations or to groups, or it's all such a good question. It's a really good question. And how do you target those people?
Yeah, and I don't have a marketing background, so I'm not good at that sort of thing,
So
when I was looking at this, personally, what I would like to see happen is, and I think that this was the objective, but to encourage the community to come together as much as possible. And certainly, I think starting out by learning how to talk to each other is a good idea. So I think somehow we'd like to be as welcoming as possible. And I've been looking up different resources. I'll share some later on, and I've been in a very nice sensitivity training that I really like that even puts relationship first. So if there are people in the community and we want to somehow engage them in the difficult conversation, somehow we'd want it to be really welcoming so that they come. Mm-hmm. I also, when I was looking at this, I decided, listen, I'm going to look at the Spirit report, and I was looking at the votes, right? There's some things that were voted on. So the most votes, 21 votes, lack of civic community involvement and relying on social media versus direct communication. Okay, the opportunity for direct communication would be wonderful. The second one, lack of avenues to engage community members in crucial conversations on important topics impacting the community. So that's 20 votes. And those two come even before number 3, which is new versus old, and et cetera. So all I'm concerned with language, I mean, I echo quite a bit of what was said before. My concern with language at all is whether it's going to be off-putting so that the people seeing won't come. Well, I would love people to come, and we need the difficult conversations. Mm-hmm. So the more the better. And I'd hate to really, from my perspective, I think a lot of people would do well to be working on these difficult conversations, old and new. I might say, as someone who knows some older residents, there are people who are, let's say, as white as we are, who move up from New York City. I've talked to a couple of New Yorkers. New York is the hub of the universe, and sometimes, let's say, sometimes they will come up here with quite a superior attitude. And also they come up here with their money, and they cause the taxes to go up. So, there are some people who want to hold on to the family home. And if in fact there are people who don't even mind forcing them out, which I've had some communications where, are you really wanting to harm a group of people? Well, of course they're going to be protectionist then, because now, their family had a house, taxes are going up, they're feeling more and more economic pressure. And it's people coming up with money and wanting new schools and doing all, it's not that simple. I'm broad brushing it because, there are a lot of improvements that are really lovely. The boardwalk along the pond, there are things that are really good, but I think that there's a lot of little elements within the whole community, and that if we listen to each other, if we actually care about economic challenges, if we can improve things in the community and help people be able to stay and help us be together, and to not make it threatening to any group of people. To my mind, togetherness is best for all of us. I don't think we harm anybody if we come together as a cohesive community and care about each other and are helpful. But if we're pitting each other against each other, then it's going to be pretty hard to get people to come together. So anyway, but let me appreciate you're putting this together, and I really appreciate that. And yeah, I'd love, to look at these first two that, again, lack of avenues to engage community members in crucial conversations. Let's have the crucial conversations. So let's learn how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And thanks, Rebecca, for saying that, because I also wanted to, right before you said that, I was looking, and, two of the groups did say, lack of community engagement as number one and number two, that they thought we needed to work on. So it is in there that providing a forum for people to engage with each other is something that the Spirit Report would support.
Yeah.
I just would like us to be careful if we're having all this conversation about why it's wrong to say old guard. I think it's super problematic to make statements like people from New York come and have a superior attitude and raise our taxes. I think that is also problematic for various reasons, and seems hypocritical considering the conversation we just had for like 40 minutes about the term old guard.
Certainly. And if we said all new residents do that, then that's absolutely a problem. So, it might be that saying newcomers, new guard, that's another label. So this is another reason to not use the labels. But I think what I'm trying to say is there's some problems. People are suffering various problems among different groups. So how do we bring everybody together? How do we not seem like we're each threatening each other? How can we build some trust, some unity? What are the principles we can agree on?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
How can we invite people to conversations even where they'll come, that they're actually will come and have the conversation?
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe we just need to clarify. I think Rebecca I think she was saying she has had somebody say that to her. So just to clarify, I don't think Rebecca was saying.
Well, I guess I was saying two people who are from New York seem to understand that, that there are New Yorkers. I mean, they love New York, and it's an important city in the world. And then I heard others who've had some, experiences where, let's just say people weren't listening to each other. So I think, again, it's the conversations that we need to have.
Okay.
Okay. So, thank you.
So,
In summary, not to repeat anything, rehash anything, but okay, we've got more work to do to fine tune this. I think that's all there is to it. We just have a little more fine tuning to do, correct? We all agree on that?
Yeah, and so it sounds like nobody wants to identify any of the issues listed.
Oh, I just X'd out of that. Hold on.
so I'm still,
I mean, why are we here?
so are we, I'm still, so you're saying you want something besides community engagement to be like a subtopic, or I'm trying to figure out what you're asking, because I want to answer you.
I mean, I'm having a hard time articulating it, but I just feel like denying the history of the Spear report, denying the fact that there are areas.
We just approved that. We're not denying the history.
No,
We don't want to deny it.
But then we like pause, and then we say, okay, now we're going to have this training to help people communicate better. And I don't know. And I thought that a proposal was supposed to have a target audience.
Mm-hmm.
So who is our target audience?
And we should identify how we're going to reach them and how we're going to include them. You're right.
So we have a paragraph on the target audience. But can we go back to the bullet list? Because I'm trying to figure out what we're trying to do with the bullet list. I don't want to jump around. I want, like, what.
Okay, Gabriella is raising her hand.
Yep, great.
Thanks, Emily. So I think what I understand is you would like us to maybe highlight like maybe 3 or 5 of these bullets that we think are particularly important, and that will guide your next steps as you finesse and make this proposal more specific to reflect what the event's actually going to look like. Is that correct?
Yes, that is my desire.
Thank you.
So, tension between newer residents and multi-generational families is one of the bullet points. So would you like us to send you like 4 or 5? Email those to you? Or do you want to hammer that out here, which I think might not be realistic? Is that?
I don't see those bullet points as like things that are, these are just topics in the report that would be relevant toward having conversations. And these were just things that were identified as people's expressions of concern. Not that they'll all be targeted, but the rationale for having an event about communicating across communities that feel siloed or feeling as though there's not a lot of interaction. So it's not as though we're, okay, 2 different mice. Oh, and my thinking, Emily, was that they were listed because they were identified as being relevant, not as though we're going to be touching all of those, but why would we need an event like this? Because there's There's a good old boy network mentality, not coming from me. These were not my thoughts, meaning that there was a specific group, and these were identified. That was, I think, from the municipal leaders. There, people felt not on the same page, or there was a difference between newer people. There was frustration with change. There was us versus them. There's a tense environment. I mean, I think there are like 101 bullet points, but these were just some of them that were relevant. If you think that there are more relevant bullet points, then maybe you can identify the ones that are more relevant to communication that are not listed here.
No, I don't have a problem with the bullet points. Emily was asking us to pick out bullet points for a reason I'm still not clear on. Sorry.
I kind of agree with you, Myra, that it just kind of sets the stage of what the concerns are. Like, I totally understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's explaining the backdrop.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And it's not like all these things are going to be addressed, or that, like, I guess that has to be made clear too, that maybe there's a clarity around understanding, because I guess I got concerned with reading. I was like group 1, group 2, group 3. I wasn't really understanding. Are we is that as a proposal to group people into these 4 categories for the? No. Okay.
No,
I wasn't sure.
I mean, that's directly from the Spirit report.
Right.
Like,
oh, this was what these groups in the Spirit report reported back.
Those were their priorities directly from the Spirit report.
Okay, I just wasn't clear on that. Okay.
I mean, I suppose we could have put more quotes around it or indented it, and we can still do that.
Forget the groups. Like, at this point, who cares about the groups? Just look at whatever the points are, you know, like, because they're duplicated too.
Right.
Like,
in a way they are, you're right. You're right.
Just, it doesn't matter what the group format was or anything, just like, okay, these are concerns, or these are differences, or what have you.
This isn't the invitation. This is just our rationale.
Right.
No, I understand, but we just weren't, as a committee, or I should speak for myself, as a committee member, I just wasn't clear on what all that meant. Group 1, 2, 3. I didn't know what that meant. So I was trying to understand, does that mean?
Yeah, and that came directly from my document at the last committee meeting, where I told you, and I thought I was pretty clear on, this is directly from the Spirit report.
Right.
Okay.
So, just to be clear, Mary Lou wants to talk. I did understand that, and so I don't have a problem with any of the language in those, because that is direct from there. So, Mary Lou.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Patty, I agree. I didn't have any trouble realizing that was the historical context. But again, as you said, Emily, maybe offsetting it, maybe using a different font to do, something that like screams, this is not, this is from another report. But I think the purpose pretty well sums up what the second sentence is. This event is seen as an initial foundation to engage in the future difficult conversations in line with the issues and concerns identified in the City Spirit Report. I think that pretty well says what we're trying to do.
Okay.
My issue is the labeling of old guard, newcomers.
Right. Okay.
That needs to be tweaked a little bit. But to me, it says right there in those 2 sentences what we're trying to do.
Right.
Where are you, Mary Lou? What 2 sentences are you referring to? I'm
Under
just trying
purpose.
to find. Under purpose. Okay, hold on.
Which follows the bullet points, is right underneath the bullet points. I mean, I don't know how.
I agree. The purpose is great. Just change a few words.
Yeah.
And that's the crux of what we're doing. I mean,
Right.
Yep. Looks good. Yep.
So then, one of the last sentences of the target audience says simply, the old guard and newcomers should be represented. So my question about trying to identify
the Easthampton community should
Yeah.
be involved.
A great representation from the Easthampton community.
Okay.
Represent,
People with differing perspectives.
yeah.
No labels.
Specify a lot of what you're talking about. Does that sentence need to be in there? But simply the old guard, newcomers should be representative. I mean, you've pretty much outlined everybody, you've hit business, employees, residents, age, race, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, language, immigration status, social, economic. Why do we need that? Simply the old guard and newcomers should be represented. Why can't we just take that out? You've identified everybody else. You've identified the Easthampton community.
Well, I think obviously for it to pass this committee, we're going to have to take that out. So we'll take that out. I just hope we get, some people, there who are not just all interested in anti-racism and all of that,
Well, that's going to be on us to make that happen. We need to have a plan.
That's going to require not just marketing, but outreach. We're going to reach out to.
And we need to identify how we're going to do it. You're absolutely right. Like exactly how that's going to happen.
Well, I think before we start thinking about our marketing, our product, we still need to figure out what our product is and who's going to be doing it before we can figure out how we can host the event, because that's dependent. But I really want to make sure that this event is clear that as you call them, multi-generational families, or the old part is welcome at this event, because it is welcomed there, because that's a lot of the points. Like, people are feeling isolated. People don't feel as though they're welcomed in these events. So making sure that the CRC is having that voice there, with everything that's listed there, so that it's not because you're wanting to stay away from that what's the word? The specific names, labels, and titles. It gets lost and who we're inviting, and what the crux of this was about is that's it. So
I think that's where the outreach is going to be important. It's not going to be whether we, what's in this proposal. It's going to be who we outreach to and how we outreach to them and how we make those connections.
Right. But that's going to be huge and key, because it doesn't matter. We can put together the most fabulous program in the world that's going to, address all these needs. But if we don't have the right people in attendance and we don't have the attendance we want, it's not going to matter, So I think it's a really crucial piece to know how, who are we trying to reach out to, and how are we going to reach them? How are we going to entice them to participate? How are we going to attract them?
We still have a number of things to figure out before we do that, but whether you've lived in Easthampton for 6 months or 60 years, don't have to label them.
Okay. So probably enough discussion on this topic.
Sorry. So I did just wanted to get to some nitty gritty on the proposal. So what do you need from us? Do you need anything from us is our next meeting, our next big meeting, full CRC meeting, are we going to start being able to talk about dates and things like that? Because I know none of that was in there.
I mean, I think we're going to have to, edit the proposal again. And, I mean, those with greater expertise in marketing and outreach are going to have to weigh in on dates after that.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that we have a plan first on who we're targeting and how we're going to reach them before we start even.
Right.
I think that we're getting too far ahead of ourselves. Like really crucial to this planning process is who exactly are we going to target? How are we going to excite them about participating? Like we need to know who our audience is and how we're going to get them involved.
Well, I guess that's what I'm asking though, is like, I just want to make sure, like, what are the next steps that we need to, like, are there like, first of all, what are we asking these two to do for our next meeting? And is there anything else we should be doing? I guess that's my question, just to clarify.
Well, I'll speak for myself. I was planning on editing this document first,
Okay.
and giving Myra a break on it. And, but I know that I'm going to still, right now, if we take out that inflammatory old guard label, we're going to be left with business owners, employees, residents, renters, houseless persons, wide demographics. We're going to be left with all of Easthampton again. And so we still don't have a target audience. So I was kind of hoping that we could decide that here now. And if we can't, then we'll have to do that in January. So I don't think there's any realistic expectation that we could have any dates figured out now.
No.
So yeah, maybe we need to, I don't know, we need to brainstorm on how to reach people, how to promote this effectively. I mean, I don't know if, we can use Facebook and the Easthampton Mass group page. I don't know or I'm sure we can invite specific people. We could make a list of people we think would be great to participate, that would be really helpful for this whole dialogue. People maybe who are very outspoken on Facebook, or people who have been outspoken in various, matters in the city. Maybe we could reach out to those people, make a list and invite specific individuals to participate. I don't know if there's groups or committees within the city that would be great for offering suggestions, like if there any, I like Chamber of Commerce, for example, like, okay, they're, in touch with all the businesses. Like, are there specific groups within that network that people would, could maybe really say, oh, I bet these people might appreciate the opportunity to be a part of some kind of conversations like this. Maybe we could reach out to specific organizations or groups in the city and get some input from people. I don't know. I'm just like spouting off the top of my head here.
Rotary Club.
What?
There's like service clubs in town. You can talk to those people.
I wonder, like the community center, like Robin Bielecki, who's the director of that, she might have some input into some families that have been in our city for a long time, or families that are struggling economically, perhaps due to increased taxes or what have, like she might have some, people that she would recommend that would be great participants in something like this. Like, I don't know, we could probably reach out to various segments of our community, and I don't know, just brainstorming here. Any other thoughts? So, okay, so for the next meeting, then we're going to go forward with some revisions to the proposal. And maybe we could all be thinking about and brainstorming, how do we reach our target audience? Like who are we trying to reach and how do we reach them? What's the most effective way? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's great.
I mean, maybe it has to do with how we package this. Maybe it's packaged and marketed as something more than just a forum to help, da, 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 da. Maybe we market this and package this in such a way that, well, hopefully we could, that it really becomes exciting for people to want to be a part of it. Like with the way we present it, the way we sell it, like something that's really, on the cutting edge of bringing us together. I don't know. So we have to put a lot of thought into that, like how we're going to effectively reach people. I agree. We have to really, really work on that. But
I mean, I like your optimism, Deb, but I don't know if difficult conversations with recognition of implicit bias is going to be exciting.
I know. Work with me here. I'm just trying to say, like, maybe we can package it in a way that people will feel like they're going to be involved in something that's really powerful, like really has the opportunity to positively affect change. Or I understand.
That's kind of, we haven't been able to deal with racism for centuries. I don't think we're going to make much change with this one forum.
I'm thinking baby steps.
Yeah.
Right.
This is our first step.
Right.
And we're still going to work on wording amongst ourselves. But I think the most, like, I know W love action steps. At least I get that vibe. They wants to know what are we doing next?
Right.
So, but my thought is, unless we can do the second part, about seeking out. About event deadlines, of looking of who might be that presenter, then we're not really going to know how we can market it and how it's going to be presented in our full audience. Because as we remember, that's the hiccup that we had the last time around. So we want to be able to have, and mind you, I'm going to be taking some time off in December. And I imagine a lot of these potential presenters will be too. So we need to have time to be able to search out and reach those people. And if it's going to be Emily and I'm not sure how, how long that's going to take, as I imagine you have a few other things to do too.
Right. Okay.
But I'm not sure if anyone had any thoughts about the event deadlines. I'm not sure that will make January 30th to get back to you. But about the organizations and looking into event deadlines, like putting in those priorities, what seemed to be the priorities last time around.
Okay. Any other comments about that? Event deadlines? I had a printer issue, so I couldn't print, so I'm keep flipping back and forth here. Well, what do you want to, let's still hope for the end of January for getting some thoughts down on all of the list of things you have here?
We can try.
Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry. In terms of the rewording of the proposal, or?
I meant the other thing that you listed.
Oh, okay. As in seeking
the institutions for facilitation.
So that you're referring to finding who or what may be our best resource for leading this. Mm-hmm. That's what you're referring to.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Does that still seem like realistic to put thought into that or pursuing that? I mean, not to say that you have to have a specific conclusion at that point, but to work with that as a time frame, a goal. Is that realistic or no?
I mean, I don't think, I'd rather not put a date to that until we've got the proposal approved by you guys. Because we would send the proposal potentially to that person.
Okay, yeah,
or,
that makes
you know,
sense.
to get feedback on it and.
That makes sense.
to those
I mean, if there's any sort of background research you could be doing, like looking into anything without any sort of official or formal dialogue, that's great, but I hear you. That makes
So
sense.
I'm wondering if Derek or Megan might have some suggestions for organizations or facilitators that might be appropriate. I think to me that this, that shouldn't just fall on Emily and Myra, the organizations. I think if any of us have any connections or ideas of organizations or speakers, I think it would be appropriate to send them to Myra and Emily, just because the more information they can gather, the easier it's going to be. I mean, they've already got that Bridge for Unity group that Paula Green is part of, which is my understanding is a fairly diverse group of people. The organization I'm employed by has taken, is working with them for their diversity and inclusion process, equity that they're working on as a board and staff. So, I mean, that's one organization that does do things, and they are a diverse group. So, but I think anybody else that knows of others could send it on to Emily and Myra.
Okay. Sound good? Oh, Gabby?
Sorry, Gabby. Yeah.
So is that subcommittee just Myra and Emily now? And if it's just Myra and Emily now, do Myra and Emily want more help? I think it's a question we should also ask.
Has he been part of your conversations at all? What is your take on his level of participation?
I'm assuming he's been too busy but Myra, do you have any more info? No.
I haven't received any communication or correspondence, so I really can't speak for someone.
So you reached out to him, but you haven't heard back from him?
I mean, he sent me one email saying he was willing to help, but then he didn't seem to have the opportunity to review the documents. So it's not that he's off the subcommittee. I'll certainly ask for his input with the next round. Yeah. But if anyone else wants to join the subcommittee, that'd be great.
Yeah, we just have to be careful that we don't ever have quorum. Yeah.
Oh.
Because what are we at? We're supposed to be 11. We're at 10 people, right? Okay, so we just can't be 5.
Right.
So
we can be 4. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, it's up to you both if you want to have someone else on board to help out, or it's up to you to.
I mean, sometimes too many cooks make it difficult, but
yeah, that's up to you.
Yeah.
I think that too, as we get into some really hard deadlines and active things that have to happen, certainly, I think other members of the whole committee would take on responsibilities. Like you don't have to do like minutia stuff, like whatever.
You can delegate to us.
Yeah. Yes. Very well said. Thank you, Deb.
Okay. All right. So, okay, we're clear on it. Is everybody clear? We're clear. Okay, good. Thank you all. Thank you very much. And thank you for all the work you've put in, Emily and Myra. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on, CRC Outreach. So letterhead paper, we have letterhead paper. I had intended to share that with you tonight. And I sent it to Patty, but we were having technical difficulties and she's not getting my emails. So I'm just going to send it out to all of you, FYI, and hope that you like it. And so I'll share all that with you. Just as a point, when I send it as a Word document, the coloring is very light, but as soon as you save it as a PDF, it brightens up to full color. So just in case you're wondering and you're looking at the two versions, the Word, it darkens up. It's never intended to be light when it's actually printed or viewed. But for whatever reason, I wasn't really clear on the explanation of that with the graphic designer, but it will be full color, just so you know, full rich color. So I'll send that out to you all via email. In terms of the website updates, everything's in process, but my own fault. It's my fault that it's not done yet. I totally neglected some of my duties in a timely manner. So my apologies for that, but it's all in process. And I was waiting also on the one piece about the pictures. Did people, do we want to submit our group photo, our group Zoom photo for our website page? How do we feel about that? That Rebecca shared with everybody and worked hard on? Is everybody okay with that? Okay.
Do we want it there? I thought, yeah, I don't remember. Was it a focus on Facebook or the web page or both? Maybe both?
Oh yeah, I guess I was assuming both, but maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Any thoughts or comments on that?
I think everyone looked really good except me. I don't think it was.
Oh.
But it's fine. Just.
No, Gabby, I'm in there with you.
Looking, I hope.
No, I'm in there with you. I'm in there with you. About
okay, me, Mary Lou. We'll just plaster.
Yeah, exactly. You and I looking very serious.
Oh gosh.
Well, maybe I should take another shot, laugh. I should have gotten it while you were laughing. No, I don't remember. I'm sure I thought you looked fine, Gabby. Mary Lou, you were serious, so.
It's fine. Yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm just teasing.
Okay. All right. So you guys are okay if we use it on Facebook or we use it on the website page. Okay. I just wanted to be sure before I said anything. Okay. So, and Alyssa obviously could not make it tonight, but I don't know. She didn't submit any sort of Facebook update, but I don't think she actually had things that were pending anyway to be reporting in on at this point. So why don't we talk about our next meeting date? Tuesday, January 5th, we had said we were going to be going with the first Tuesday of the month. Does that work for people? Is that too soon right after the holidays where it's a bit of a hardship?
Yeah. Are you sure? January 5th?
Well, so here's the deal. So I had told Patty when we were trying to set up a time to meet with Derek that technically I was considering myself on vacation that week. I'm going to be in Florida, and I say that because I'm actually now going to be there a very long time, but I'm going to be able to Zoom with you folks per usual, but I'm actually going to be there for 3 months. But that first week, my daughter took off so we would spend a week together. So that's why I was considering that like my vacation week, because I had plans to do things with her that first week. She's taken off of work. So I'm going to be there a very long time, but yeah. So I was a little bit personally, I was just like, oh, because we have a meeting, and I was like, oh, okay, that's hard. But I will obviously make it a priority if I need to be a part of it. But if you all were like, okay with a different date, I'd be like really happy.
Do you, I guess the only question I have, I mean, I'm not wedded to any date, but there was a conversation with the mayor about showing up on the 5th. Is that still?
Well, we can just, we'll let her know whatever we decide for meeting date.
Okay.
As long as it doesn't, she will never make it if it's school committee though.
Right. And there's no say in when they may have an emergency meeting anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, they've had a lot of that.
Yeah, it seems like they're doing a lot more meeting this fall than they usually do anyway. So, yeah.
I think their normal, regularly scheduled meetings are the second Tuesdays of the month.
Yeah.
That's their normal. I know they're meeting the second Tuesday. That's definitely happening.
The 12th.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, just wanted to get your thoughts. Do you guys want to go with the 5th? Is that too soon? I don't know. You won't hurt my feelings. I'll make it happen.
I mean, we could do, I guess we could do the 5th or the 19th, if assuming school committee is the 12th.
Want to do that, the 19th?
Does anybody see a reason why we should have to meet on the 5th? I think it actually would be.
I think with the holidays and all, I mean, I think, yeah, I don't know that anybody's going to be.
Not much is going to happen between now and then.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
I propose Tuesday, the 19th of January.
Yay. Okay, is everybody okay with that? All right, yay, thank you.
Wait,
That's
did you
awesome.
say, what was the final, sorry, what was the final 19th you said?
Tuesday, January 19th,
Okay,
6 o'clock?
okay.
Is that good?
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Awesome. Yay, perfect. I think that's awesome. Okay, so we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, where's my roll call? Okay, Rebecca Passa,
Yes, great.
Dougherty,
Yes.
Emily Britton,
Yes.
Mary Lou Splain,
Yes.
Myra Oyedemi. I struggle with your last name. Why do I do that? It's so
I'll make
frustrating.
it easy for you.
Oyedemi.
Oh, yay? Demi.
Oh, yay, Demi. I should not. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you. Gabby Stevenson,
Yes.
Deborah Lusnia, yes, yay. Thank you all. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, guys.
Happy holidays for everyone.
Yes, happy holidays. Enjoy and congratulations, Mary Lou, on your retirement.
Thanks.
Yeah.
See you in 2021.
Yeah,
Thanks again to the subcommittee.
Yes.
Appreciate
Yeah,
your
thank
work
you.
on that and your willingness to, thank you so much.
yeah,
And
appreciate
happy
it.
holidays. Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.